Welcome back, everybody, to West Georgia Gridiron Podcast, Week 9 of the wrap-up. Mason, we've got some controversy that we want to start with. A little heat actually going around in the state. This thing about high school recruiting is getting kind of out of hand, if you agree with that. Talk 229. A little difficult to say, but they have a good point. They have a great post. Milton versus Gainesville, including transfers from Archer, Alpharetta, Centennial, Collins Hill, Duluth, Dutchtown, Ola, and Sparkman. They asked the question, how can a high school get 8 D1 transfers in one off season? Do your job at official GHSA. Well, there's a lot of great comments about this, and I think it's something that we need to talk about. A couple comments. Jonathan Bass, GHSA has 2 rule books, one for the teams north of McDonough and one for the teams to the south. There's a lot of people that I've seen on comments on this, basically, that feel like there are rules for the southern teams and then South Georgia, and then you get north of Atlanta and nothing applies. There's 2 different rule books. And then Trajan Body says he copied and pasted the Grayson Rams model. Oof. And then there was a response by her. She says at least Grayson is winning. Got a good point there. And then Elijah Billings, all that and got blown out by Carrollton.
Yeah.
Speaking of Gainesville, Carlton Smith replies and says to that, Elijah Billings didn't get blown out by nobody, just played one bad quarter, but watch how proud we stand on the podium and receive the state title. Now, Mason, let's just stop right here because there's some more comments. But I know you have some thoughts on this. They didn't get blown out. They just had one bad quarter. What say you?
No, they just had one good quarter. Third quarter was the only quarter where they actually produced anything. They had a pick six, and they got the game they were down by 1 point at one point in the game. But other than that, they lost 3/4 of the game, including the first, second, and the last quarter. So, obviously he's not going to go, oh, yeah, I agree with you. We got blown out by Carrollton. And I do think at this point, especially after that Milton win, I do think Gainesville is favorite to win 5A. Obviously, they still got to get through Langston Hughes to do that because Langston Hughes still has a lot to prove. But those are really the 2 main teams in 5A. But for the transfer rule, I mean, I don't really know how the GHSA would go about it. I feel like the rules right now are pretty good because you can only transfer one time. Once you start doing it more than once, you have to sit out a year, and you have to be in district. If you're not in district, you have to sit out a year. So, I mean, I don't really know. I guess what people are saying is they don't enforce it for the southern teams. I don't know. I'm not sure about that. I would have to obviously see some examples. But
well, that leads us into these comments. Chris Torrey says, same as Buford. None of those kids even live in the school district. It creates an unfair advantage when they play in our region against teams who are not allowed to do that. All right. Well, Rob Brookshire, these are a little long, but I think it's worth actually closing out with these 2. GHSA apparently created a new set of rules in the past season, which you were referring to, regarding recruiting and move-ins. Those rules go into effect summer of 2026.
So next.
Right. So if you transfer more than twice starting in your freshman year,
yeah.
Right. But this applies to next year. So the set of rules apply across the board, but the schools that have boosters that have more money than GHSA does often win in recruiting violation cases. They essentially pay off the GHSA. Don't know that that's true, but that's his opinion. Secondly, there were talks of creating a super region that fit the mold for teams that do this. Yeah. That obviously got axed because of some of the schools complained about it and wouldn't be fair because they were currently in smaller classifications. So we go back to having 7 classes, which was just the ruling, by the way, that they decided as a committee to go back to 7A, and cheating will continue, according to his opinion. It's unfortunate because there are a lot of really good programs that out there that have kids have only played in their programs. They cannot compete against the Miltons and the Bufords of the world. So Charles Williams closes out this way. Williams is a middle school teacher, and he says, this is sad. Your life in athletics is going to be a fraction of what you do in real life, and I have seen too many children not prepared for life once the air is out of the ball. It's past time for adults to be the voice of reason and stop with the over-the-top emphasis on athletics and turn that energy toward getting the children ready for the careers and any potential future opportunities. I have seen too many times where parents, guardians are invited to a school curriculum night to discuss their children's academic progress, and few show up, but many of them will be in the cold and rain for a football game on Friday or Saturday. Out of 4,000 high school football players, only 400 will be playing in college, and out of 400, only 40 will be drafted or signed as a free agent, and out of those 44 of them will get a contract and play long enough to be vested for retirement. So I think it's something that we've got to talk about. I know we had this discussion. Alabama does not have recruiting. They've stayed away from NIL, which has kind of cut down on recruiting. I'm sure recruiting does happen at some point in some way. But Mason, what's your thoughts? Because obviously the schools that were pointed out the most are usually the larger classes and the teams that are winning the most. That's your Carrolltons, Bufords, Miltons, Graysons, those kind of teams. So what's your overall consensus on this?
Obviously, I think as a state, it should always be what's in the best interest of the students, what's in the best interest of the student athletes, not just the athletes. And I think a lot of it is parents. When you have parents who are willing to move to places so that their children can play ball. And obviously every case is different. And when you're up in more populated areas like Atlanta, where all the cities are really closely populated, it's a lot easier just to move from school to school because they're all right next to each other. So down in the South, when it's Valdosta, Lowndes, they're out in different counties. That's a different situation. But there's a lot of people that do, everybody feels differently. Some people, me included, I think it should just be purely based on school population. The classes should, not based on out of district included in that, out of district counting of 3 people. There are some people who have posed the idea of creating classes based on booster club budget. The booster club or the teams with booster clubs that have the most money should be all in a class together because they can afford to buy the most players. Or
so you're for the super region?
Huh?
Are you for a super region?
I think it should be solely based on school population. Obviously, when I think people are, and here's another thing, people are just gonna complain when they just gonna complain because they're not winning. Yes, because of a school like Carrollton, they have a big indoor facility. It's just you can't. They're gonna complain about that, and it's just one of those things where if a kid is willing to move to a school because their parents are letting them and they want to come to a program like Carrollton that's a winning program traditionally, they have great facilities. I mean, I don't think that that's necessarily a bad thing. I mean, gets the kid more exposure. Sure, it gets them winning more, and it's unfortunate for schools that don't have those opportunities, but I don't really know what you want to do about it because all of the solutions I've heard don't sound very reasonable.
Well, and
I don't think coaches or booster clubs or anyone associated with the school should be going out and grabbing players and fishing them in. But if a player on his own says, you know what, I want to go play here because I have a better opportunity here, I'm not against that at all. As long as they
just follow GHSA rules.
Yeah, as long as they come and actually move down here, I'm fine with that.
Yeah, and I think that some of these schools that they're referring to are close enough together to where the parents don't have to change a job. They don't have to change a location where they're living.
Just a different route to school.
Yeah, and does it give the advantage? Maybe it does. So Rodney Ad in the closeout says, hey, look, let the pink elephants have all the transfers they want, but if you do that, go play with the big boys in the highest classification. Meanwhile, in the north end of the county, North Hall High School football is undefeated and ranked number 3 in the state with zero transfers.
I don't know. It's easy to say that when you don't play Gainesville. You're in 3A. You're not in 5A.
Here we go.
If they played Gainesville, they get smacked around. He knows that. I don't really know why he's trying to say anything.
Rodney, if you're listening
he didn't even need to open his mouth, to be honest with you, because it's just one of those things where it's like, it's easier to win with no transfers when you're in 3A. I think that's just pretty simple. Your top competition is Calhoun, Jefferson, Sandy Creek. They don't really use transfers. So obviously you're gonna be 3 in the state if you're good. Yeah.
Then we turn our attention to this week's wrap up, week 9. I told you it gets heated, Mason, and rightfully so. I think these conversations are going to have to continue. This reclassification, I don't know what that's going to do, but
again, I think, I have a lot of opinions on things, but at the end of the day, there's always going to be someone dissatisfied. There's always going to be someone who's complaining. There's always going to be someone who, just because their school's not winning, or they've never historically won, or they constantly get beat on by another
or
team,
they can't get somebody to go coach there.
Huh?
Or they can't get somebody to go coach there. They don't have the same booster
Yeah, I mean,
dollars.
it's just cry me a river. Cry me a river.
All right. Well, I knew there was going to be some heated comments on that one. But we go into week 9. We're wrapping it up. It's hard to believe we're toward the end of the regular season, Mason. I thought this game was going to be a bigger showdown than it was. But Red Devils were hosting Mount Zion.
Yeah, I had Bowdon winning this one 38-17, so by 21 points. They actually won by 37, so obviously I was off by 16 points. With this, Bowdon essentially, as long as Bowdon wins out, they got to beat Greenville and Tryon, which obviously, based on the season they have been having, not going to be too difficult. But they're essentially, as long as they win out, region champions, as long as Mount Zion wins their last game, because Mount Zion only has one more game, because this week's actually their first bye week of the season. So they've played 9 straight games. They got to beat Manchester, who's not having a great year, and they essentially clinched the 2 seed. So this was kind of it's a lose for Mount Zion, but it's really a win-win because they get 1 and 2 in the region. But Bowdon, if they came into this with 2 wins in a row, a stretch where they outscored their opponents by an average of 18.5 points, and they went ahead and made it 3 on Friday. They simply could not be stopped, obviously, as they easily dominated Mount Zion 44-7. And considering the Red Devils have won 5 matchups by more than 19 points this season, Friday's blowout was nothing new. Bowdon's win bumped their record up to 6-2, and as for Mount Zion, their defeat was their first in region play, dropping their region record down to 2-1 and their overall record down to 7-2. Bowdon and Mount Zion will both get a bit of extra prep time before their next games. Obviously, Bowdon has a bye week this week as they get prepared to take on Greenville next week on the road, and then Mount Zion, they have a bye week this week as well as they get prepared to go take on Manchester on the road in their last regular season game of the season next week.
Was it that a lot of their players were being banged up coming into this game for Mount Zion, and the fact that they're just now getting to their first bye week and they've been playing 9 straight? Any factors at all?
Well, I do think that they're not having a bye week until week 10 is not going to help you out. Especially, I think it is very reasonable to have a bye week before region play starts. Obviously, they've waited all the way until they've completed 90% of their schedule to have a bye week. So I think that could have a big part in it. But I don't even think if they're fully healthy that they can really beat this Bowdon team. And that's no shame on Mount Zion. Bowdon, obviously, they're 3-time they're back-to-back state champions. Again, I don't know how banged up they really were. Obviously, when you play 9 straight again, you're going to be banged up. But I mean, Bowdon hasn't had a bye week since they played Heard County, and they've played 2 games since then, which obviously is not 9. But I don't know. I don't really like that excuse because it's not like any key players were out. Xavier Buckner played, Knox Israel played, a lot of their key guys played. So I think Bowdon just got the best of them, and it's not a bad loss for Mount Zion. But it's just, if you're going to get better, you gotta play better teams.
Yeah. And then Carrollton hosted for their homecoming Chapel Hill, in which I think was the same team as they took on last year for home.
Yeah, Carrollton, I had them winning 59-3, so by 56 points. They only put up 56 points, and they gave up 7 late in the game with their backups in. They won by 49 points, so I was only off by a touchdown. So pretty close on this prediction. But Carrollton, they strolled into this game with a perfect record, and they left the same way. They blew past the Chapel Hill Panthers. They led 42-0 at the half, and the contest was all but over already. Among those leading the charge, though, was freshman quarterback C.J. Cipher, who actually just got offered by Georgia Tech, so congratulations to C.J. But he threw for 180 yards and 3 touchdowns on a perfect 9-for-9 passing. The dominant performance also gave him a new career high in passer rating. Another player making a difference was senior running back Cam Wood, who rushed for 50 yards and a pair of scores. He's also been getting some offers lately, so congratulations to him as well. Special teams also deserve some recognition. They posted 14 points in total. The biggest highlight from special teams, and perhaps the whole team, came of courtesy of sophomore Rontre Welch. He had a kickoff that he took back for a touchdown to start the game, and that actually put him – he now has the longest kickoff return touchdown in Carrollton history. He also has the second longest. So he holds the top 2 longest kickoffs for a touchdown ever. Did it against Rome, and then obviously the second longest was in this game. But Carrollton's victory obviously bumps up their record to 8-0. As for Chapel Hill, they are on a 5-game losing streak, and they have dropped down to 1-6 on the year. And we've got plenty of region action coming up soon because Carrollton, they will challenge rival East Coweta on Friday, and that matchup will pit two of the most dominant backs against one another. Obviously, senior running back Cam Wood for Carrollton, and for East Coweta, junior running back Ricky Howell Jr. We'll get into that later on in the week. But Carrollton looking pretty similar to last year, to be honest with you. Obviously, not every team is what they were last year. Carrollton is not what they were last year in terms of some aspects. 8-0, just like they were last year. They're heading into this matchup against East Coweta, who I also think is 1-6, so it might be an easy game for that one. But Carrollton on the road to another region, might be their fourth or fifth straight region championship.
Yeah, we're actually finally hosting East Coweta. It's been a while since we hosted them here at home.
Yeah,
I did not know they were 1-6 though.
Last time we hosted East Coweta was Juju's freshman year, 2022. That's the year we lost to Mill Creek in the state championship. So it's been 3 years. But yeah, East Coweta, and it's not even that. I mean, they're not a good team because, I mean, I don't want to say anything, but East Coweta, they've had a tough schedule. I will say that. They played Sandy Creek, they played Perry, they played Cambridge, they played a lot of really decent, really good top 10 teams. But if you're going to be a good team, you got to beat those teams. You can't just lose to every single one of them and then beat. I can't remember who they beat. I think they beat Perry. But they're 1-6. They have had a generally tough schedule, but they haven't been really successful at all in that schedule. They lost to Noonan in a 60-55 shootout. It's been an interesting season for East Coweta. They had a bye week before this week, and they got blown out by Douglas County the week before that. So yeah, East Coweta not doing great this season.
All right, and then you have Temple Tigers and Haralson County Rebels.
Yeah, I had Haralson County winning this one 34-14, so by 20 points, and they did win by 20 points, but it was only 26-6, so a more low-scoring affair. But I got the margin correct, and that's all I care about. Haralson County lost to Temple back last year in October of 2024. Obviously, they didn't allow them the same satisfaction on Friday. The Rebels did put the hurt on the Tigers. The Rebels might be getting used to big wins, seeing as the team has won 5 contests by 20 or more points this season. Senior quarterback Paxton Ray went supernova. He rushed for 205 yards and 4 touchdowns while picking up 10.3 yards per carry. He was also just one part of a punishing run game. Haralson County was unstoppable on the ground, and they finished the game with 264 rushing yards. It's probably one of, if not the most, they've managed all year long. The win made it 2 in a row for Haralson County, and it bumps their season record to 6-2. And as for Temple, they are on a 4-game losing streak that has dropped them down to 4-4. Fun fact for Temple: before their first bye week, they were 4-0, and then they started region play after the bye week, and they've been 0-4. So now they're entering their second bye week this week. But both squads will hit the road in their upcoming games. For Haralson County, it'll be this week as they hit the road to take on Pepperell, who Pepperell's currently the number 1 team in that region. As for Temple, they do get a little bit of extra time to process this loss. They do have a bye week this week, and then they'll be hitting the road to take on Darlington next week.
Yeah, that should be good. All right, speaking of Darlington, they took on Heard County Braves here locally.
Yeah, Heard County beat them 41-20, so they beat them by 21 points. A lot closer of a game than I thought. I thought Heard would have beat them 52-6, so by 46 points. So I was off by 25 points. Darlington definitely kept this game closer than expected. But Heard County, they did stroll into this game with a perfect record. And again, just like Carrollton, they left the same way. They blew past Darlington 41-20. Considering the Braves have won 5 matchups by more than 20 points this season, again, this was nothing new for them. Junior quarterback Ethan Tisdale continued his habit of posting crazy stat lines. He rushed for 106 yards and a pair of touchdowns on just 5 carries. He also threw for 136 yards and 3 touchdowns while completing 78.6% of his passes. Another player making a difference was junior running back Darius Coleman. He had 96 total yards and 2 touchdowns. Heard County's victory bumped their record up to 7-0. As for Darlington, they are on a 4-game losing streak that has dropped them down to 2-5, which is good news for Temple, as they have to play them in the next coming weeks. both teams will have to hit the road in their upcoming contest. Heard County this week will be hitting the road to take on Bremen.
Yeah. And then we end with Villa Rica Wildcats and New Manchester Jaguars. This I thought that would be a closer game, but proved not to.
Well, me as well. I mean, I only had New Manchester winning 31-21, so only by 10 points. Obviously, they won 36-0. So I was off by 26 points. But Friday was not the day for Villa Rica's offense. They were just beaten. And the matchup, this actually marks the first time this season that Villa Rica was not able to get on the board. This is the first time they've gotten shut out this season, which, I mean, they've played Rome and even put up points on Rome, which I find interesting. Junior quarterback Matthew Eubanks, he threw for 149 yards on 14 of 22 attempts. Senior wide receiver Max Garfield was his top target, picking up 83 receiving yards. On the ground, junior running back Emmanuel Ajayi, he rushed for only 28 yards. New Manchester, though, they had a senior duo who we talked about. They took command. Senior quarterback, three-star senior quarterback DJ Alexander, committed to FIU. He rushed for 48 yards and one score. And then that senior running back, Andre Giannopoulos, he had 115 rushing yards and one touchdown. Giannopoulos is crushing it when it comes to rushing yards this season. He's rushed for at least 112 yards every time he's taken the field this season, which is insane. This is the second loss in a row for Villa Rica, nudges their season record down to 3-5. But the team was facing some tough opposition over that stretch, including 4-2 Rome. As for New Manchester, the win keeps them at an undefeated 7-0. Villa Rica and New Manchester will both get a bit of extra prep time for their next games, because for Villa Rica, the next time they'll see the field will be next week as they take on Kennesaw Mountain.
Yeah, and their best players out, right?
Yes, Miles George, and he might be coming back soon. Don't know if he'll be coming back this season. Obviously, it's kind of a little bit too late now because, I mean, they only got 2 games left. I believe it's East Paulding and then obviously Kennesaw Mountain. But again, yeah, him not being in there is definitely crucial, but still just not a very good day for Villa Rica. New Manchester, again, is a very good team, but not being able to put up any points at all is just something we haven't seen from Villa Rica this year.
What will it take for them to be able to get into the playoffs?
Right now, New Manchester is first in their region. In 2 weeks, New Manchester will take on Rome, and those are the top 2 teams from that region. So that'll be a really good matchup. But I believe Villa Rica is either in 3rd or 4th right now. Actually, I'm going to look at that. But
because they've only had 2 region losses, right?
Yeah, 2 region losses. They lost to New Manchester and they lost to Rome. They're currently 3rd in their region. East Paulding's 2-2, so they got to beat East Paulding. And then, really, as long as they beat East Paulding, they should get into the playoffs. Okay. I mean, if they lose to Kennesaw Mountain and East Paulding, they're out of the playoff. They'll probably be out of the playoffs, and South Paulding will probably get in. But as long as they beat Kennesaw Mountain, doesn't really matter what happens against East Paulding. So yeah, they just got to beat Kennesaw Mountain, and they should be set. Obviously, best case scenario for them would be to beat Kennesaw Mountain and beat East Paulding, so win out. And that would get them the 3 seed. But as long as they beat Kennesaw Mountain, they're going to at least make the playoffs for sure.
Well, speaking of playoffs, we do have a special announcement. We want to keep making sure that you know about this as the time comes. The next couple of weeks, we are doing a state playoffs live podcast show for the West Georgia Gridiron Podcast. It's a special live recording and team spirit night. It's going to be hosted here in Carrollton at Buffalo Wild Wings, Monday, November 3rd, 6:30 to 8. So wear all your favorite fan wear and come hungry. Great wings, great sports. And listen in, and then after the show, we'll be able to post that, and you can watch it or listen to it there online as well. So we'll be putting out some advertisement here on social media soon, and make sure that you come pack the place out, support your teams, and it should be a great night. And tune into Thursday's show for Mason's weekly pregame analysis, predictions, and more. This is where we get ready for all of Friday night's action. Mason will be covering all that, go into the details, tell you what is keys to success, key players, and what it's going to take for them to pull off the W going into the end of the season to make sure that they get into the playoffs. So should be good. Mason, any closing remarks, or comments, or opinions?
Just, again, can't believe it's this season has gone by quick. already almost playoff time. Is again time for teams to, you just got to win out. But a lot of these teams, I mean, really, these teams this season have done incredible, a lot better than I think a lot of people expected them to do, especially for like teams like Mount Zion and Haralson County. So really, I've been impressed, very impressed for the most part. Sometimes not, but go Trojans, and hope everybody wins on Friday.
Yeah, well, everybody have a good week until we see you on Thursday's show. As always say, there's nothing like football Fridays in West Georgia. Good night, everybody.